And let me illustrate how the content consumer or the client, content provider, the origin server, as well as the CDN. Okay, CDN is the one distributing the content, how the three components interact. And I'm going to use Netflix as an example. All right. So client here will be retrieving a video, and origin server here, the content provider, Netflix over here. So CDNs, the content distribution network that Netflix subscribes to, will be allocating a number of physical machines worldwide, okay, and stores copies of the content. All right. Good. Okay, so the motion is this. Okay, a user, a customer turned up, okay, and decided to watch Merman, the movie. Okay, so the user here is obviously a subscriber of Netflix, then it would send the request to Netflix. And Netflix will then send back a manifest file telling the subscriber where the copy of the video is stored. So this guy, this guy, this guy, this, all 7 of them will be reported to the client, to the subscriber. And subscriber then will pick one of them. Okay, so redirected to the nearby CDN to retrieve the content. Now what's nice about having CDN is not just the content therefore is closer to the client, it's also to address this issue. If the network goes bad here, okay, from the first CDN, the client there can choose a different CDN where the network congestion is lighter and go this way. And CDN working this way is also called a over-the-top service. Allow me to explain. And it's better explained illustrating it this way. So let's bring all these entities involved in a CDN service high up, like this. Okay, so you see there's a separation of the internet physical structure and the OTT service. So these CDN servers, as well as the original server, as well as the client, they form a network. It's a service network. It's a network formed by what? Hosts only. Now let's abstract away the infrastructure here using just a channel. Okay, so you see here high up, this is a network. And CDN, you can think of it as a service provided to the content provider such that we enable end-to-end or host-to-host communication. So it works like there's a network at the application layer. Now, maintaining such a network such that it works very efficiently distributing content is not easy. There are a lot of key design challenges. Okay, one is, hey, as we mentioned earlier in the example, right? The client will then select a nearby CDN node to retrieve the content. Okay, that is usually because the delay will be shorter, and the segment of internet involving the communication is short as well. Therefore, less chance of other traffic interfering with this one. But how do you know a shorter delay one is certainly the one that uses the shortest segment to travel? How? And maybe you want to use a combination of short segment and short delay. So, yeah, exactly how you design selecting of the CDN node, that selection algorithm, that is something to be investigated about. Okay. Second, in the presence of congestion, well, congestion comes in, very light level, sometimes very heavy level. Would viewers be really unhappy about a certain level of congestion? It might really depend. Okay, so how do you know when to switch from one CDN node to another one? Yeah, that is another challenge. Okay, so one could come up with algorithms that switch ahead of time before it goes really bad, or switch right at the point that's needed. Okay, you see that each of these strategies may carry certain advantages and disadvantages over one another. And And last, wow, at the beginning, right, we said that CDN would choose a number of physical machines and maintain duplicate copies of a certain video. But which machine and which video? Yeah. So this really has a lot to do with resource allocation and where the demands are. You want to make sure that the content is pushed closer to the demand, but you cannot be copying all the content, right, to every CDN node. So how do you conserve? Again, challenging problem. If you're curious, definitely read more into chapter 7. Okay, what's remaining are just 2 examples of how CDN requests are being redirected such that it reaches the physical location. So in the first example, it's more the Akamai model, which borrows from the services provided by DNS. So example goes like this. Bob requests a video from cinema.com, and this is the video ID. Okay, so browser here, browse around and decided, and Bob here hits this link. But the thing is that that video is actually stored here physically. The King CDN, a CDN company. And so it's stored on kingcdn.com's web servers, this location. But what happens here is, well, Bob's browser actually sees this is the host to contact. So first thing first, ask the local DNS server for the IP address of this guy. Right? So resolve this guy. Bob's DNS server there will what? Check cache. If not a hit, go to the TLD server. TLD server will share what is netcinema.com's authoritative DNS server. And so Bob can direct the query to the authoritative DNS server for the IP addresses of netcinema.com. But what's really curious here is the authoritative DNS server of netcinema.com, instead of returning an IP address, it returns the redirected path. Okay. At this point, Bob's local DNS then resolve for this name instead. Okay. And so check the cache, check with the TLD server, and eventually reaching the King CDN's authoritative DNS server. That query goes, and finally now, King CDN authoritative DNS server will return the IP address of kingcdn.com. Okay, so IP address of this guy acquired, and step 5 sends that IP address back to Bob's web browser. From there, Bob's browser can fetch the video from the actual location of the video. Right? So this is redirecting the client to the copy through the DNS service. In example 2, the content provider here only needs to do the minimum, which is to provide the logging service. So Bob here as a subscriber just logging first. Okay, that's step 1. And quickly, Bob is redirected to the CDN. And in Netflix's case, Amazon's cloud is the CDN. So Bob here will be browsing what videos there are available, okay, and ratings and how long the videos are from the web servers Amazon has already set up. Now once Bob has decided on watching a video, then step 3, the manifest file of that video is returned back to Bob. And Bob will begin to fetch the video from the physical machine Amazon has set up to store that particular video, and somewhat close to Bob. Last is just that the CDN server begin to dash over HTTP streaming the video. Now if we compare the 2 models a little bit more, we see that in the first model, the content provider has slightly better control of where the redirections should go. But in the second case, the redirection is all done by Amazon. So there's not much Netflix needs to do, or not much Netflix can do. So It's more a trade-off between control and work. Okay? So more control, more work. Less control, but less work. So, well, as a content provider, you'll have to decide for yourself.